We are celebrating the motorcycle video games here at the channel, and in this episode we're going back to 1987 and I'm going to be playing Super Hang-On, the arcade version of this game. So I'm old enough to remember this being in the arcades. Here we go. I used to play a lot of this game. There were two different cabinets that I used to see doing the rounds. One of the cabinets was the one I would generally play on, where you would actually sit on the bike and play, and it was awesome, and it was ridiculously hard as well. And the other one was like a, what are they called? Just stand up facing? Are they called stand-up facing cabinets, or did I just make that up? But you know what I mean, guys. The ones where you just stand up and play. Deary me, Mike. It's early on a Monday morning. I'm allowed to talk more nonsense than usual. And this is hard. This is difficult. This is difficult. For me it is anyway. So, this of course had loads of ports, if you didn't know, over to the likes of the ZX Spectrum, the Amiga, the Genesis. I played a lot of this on Genesis. I actually played this on the ZX Spectrum and the Amiga as well. It was fantastic on all the consoles and all the home computers. But it's hard as balls. So like I say, we're celebrating motorcycle stuff. Sounds so lame, doesn't it? But motorcycle video games. Someone in the Discord, the CM Discord, come and join. Asked me if I ever play any of these motorcycle related video games. And the answer to that is I used to, yes. Super Hang-On, this game is one of my favourite races of all time. In fact, it is a sequel to Hang-On, the original, which I've never played. But I wanted to go with Super Hang-On for this series because, like I say, I've got a lot of memories with it, and this series is called Arcade Memories, so it makes sense. Oh, this hasn't aged a day. Well, it has. Graphically, it looks rougher than I remember it looking. I remember it looking better than this. But gameplay-wise, smooth as butter. Smooth as silk to play this game. Ah! But I'm absolutely terrible at this game, and I was back in the day. My issue with this is I keep taking my finger off, or my thumb in my case, the accelerator. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to keep it on, press down at all times, and basically make sure you corner properly, which I'm not doing. I'll get into a rhythm soon. Because when you do get into a rhythm in this game, it really does feel satisfying. And in the arcade, when you were sat on the bike, and you were leaning left and leaning right on the bike, there was nothing like it. People used to gather around and watch whoever was sat on that bike playing it. Like, these days, no one would be blown away by it. Here we go. I'm going through all the stages, by the way, guys. They do differ in difficulty, of course. There's New York City in the background. There we go. But, yeah, people used to gather around and watch whoever was sat on the bike. And if loads of people were if loads of people were watching me and I was sat on the bike, this little kid who could, like, barely reach the pedals, even though I don't think he used pedals with this, I think he used the throttle, like, you know, the handle. I'd get really anxious, though, if people were watching, and I'd be even worse then. I'd be like, no, I can't do this with all these people watching. And here I am, 30, 40 years later. Is it 40 years later? I'm trying to think. Nah, it's about 35 years, 38 years later, playing this in front of you guys and sucking again. My life is on a loop. This is fantastic. So much fun to play. So hard. I think my favourite port was the, I want to say the Mega Drive. I used to play so much of that, even though I didn't own a Mega Drive. It's the same old story. We had a mate, lived up the road, he had a Mega Drive. He had quite a few games, and this was one of them, and oh yeah, I loved it. This is one of my favourite races of all time, actually. So it's in my top 10. It would make my top 10, I reckon. The music as well. I loved the Outrun and, yeah, these types of games where you could choose your song for the race. Nice little touch, that. Anyway. Okay. Doing a bit better. Here we go. I just can't keep this thing on the road. That's the issue. And that was the issue back in the day as well. But these days in the arcade, the late 80s, always remind me of such good Sega games. Like, who remembers, was it Super Thunderblade? Very similar. You'd sit on, I'm sure you'd sort of sit on the arcade cabinet. And that was like a helicopter game flying through a city, I want to say. I'm sure that was Sega. But it just reminds me of those days. The arcades just full of people and full of amazing games and not fruit machines. Like these days, if you're lucky enough to find an arcade or an amusement, as we call them at times in the UK, they're just loads and loads of fruit machines. And loads of those machines with the claws where you never win, with the cuddly toys at the bottom. And like maybe 1 or 2 video games. It weren't like that back then. And that's what I loved about the 80s and the 90s, was just the fun factor, like the family, or rather the family trips on a Saturday afternoon to the arcades, and like just spending time with people, watching people you didn't even know play video games, and get into conversation with them about the game. All that's gone. It's completely gone and forgotten. Where I live it is, anyway. I do a lot of reminiscing. I think that's why I created this channel, YouTube channel, is to reminisce. Because I could talk to you guys, and I know you share the same passion as well. And it's cool to meet like-minded people, even though none of us actually do meet. But you know what I mean. We could talk about these old greats. Even though I'm absolutely terrible at these games. So thank you for putting up with my gameplay. I just can't get to grips with this at all. Let's try again. So good, though. So good. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go. Let's go on a winning run. Right, come on now. This song sounds very Outrun. I mean, it's Sega it's going to. Was Outrun Sega? It was, wasn't it? My mind's gone blank. For some reason, I'm thinking Capcom. Outrun was Sega. I used to play a lot of that. I never saw the sit-in cabinet for Outrun. Was there one? The cabinet we had where I live was one of those I don't know what they're called, but the ones where you stand up. It had a wheel on and like a little automatic gear stick. I've never seen an Outrun sit-in arcade machine. But yeah, this is very Outrun, this track. Like the music track. Oh. So we're in Japan now, I think. It's just a fun game, and a lot of these motorbike games I am featuring on this mini-series this week will be just fun classics, if you like. Someone did recommend a PS1 motorcycle game, which I've never heard of. I'll probably do that next. The name of it escapes me, but I will... Or I have written down your memories with that game. I haven't written down your memories. That just sounds weird. I basically took a screenshot of your reply to the previous video. Is it MotoGP something? MotoGP something on PS1? Anyway, I'll take a look at that next. I think I've got that in my PS1 collection. But anyway, I'm terrible at this game, guys. We've all seen enough, I think, of Chorizo's gameplay. Super hang-on in the arcade, fantastic, as were all the ports. If you haven't played this game, seriously check it out. I've just taken a screenshot. How the hell did I do that? Messing around with the controls. My thumb slipped over to the start button on my Xbox controller, and for some reason, game bar has taken a screenshot, even though I've got game bar disabled. I don't like that running in the background. What is going on? Windows 11, ladies and gentlemen. And Super Hang-On, fantastic. Such a good game. Like I say, check out the ports. They're cool as well. Maybe we will check out the ports and do a comparison back to back at some point. I don't know. One of my favourite games of all time. I'll speak to you all soon.